All right. Welcome everyone to tonight's Facebook Live. My name is Jessie Collins, and I'm calling into you guys from the US actually in Colorado today. And welcome to our short talk about how to get more confident in using schedules. So I appreciate you guys if you're watching this live or watching this recorded. We're excited to hear any questions that you guys might have or just any feedback. And we hope this helps you guys in thinking about how to better create schedules, maybe around the house or in your school environment, or really that might be productive for you. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is just to kind of make a statement that across all of our lives, we still use schedules. Often, I think clinically, I get the question kind of asking, well, when are we going to fade out that visual schedule or that schedule for a particular student? And I usually kind of say never, because I know for me, at least, I'm always using a schedule. I'm still kind of old school, but I still have a paper planner. It has a lot of different types of schedules in here, but it has a calendar for the month. It has a daily schedule, it has a weekly schedule. So, I still on a regular basis create and use a schedule. I think especially even more frequently now that I have so many meetings, on the computer via Zoom and things like that. So I just wanted to kind of put it out there that if you guys really think about it, we all kind of use schedules. You guys may use a schedule on your phone or on your tablet. You may have a schedule in your email, like in Outlook or whatever kind of internet browser you use. So I want us to think about, even as typically developing adults and professionals, we use schedules in our life. And sometimes we even color code them, right? One is for home and one is for school and, all those different types of things. So when we're really kind of thinking about schedule, it is something that is going to be a lifelong skill. And that's something that learning how to use and, eventually, like maybe way down the road, eventually be able to create is a really important piece, I think, of keeping us all together and making sure we stay organized. We get to things on time. We know what we're supposed to do. Maybe it reduces a little anxiety or stress around what's going on for the day. So, every single morning I flip open my planner and I look at my schedule. I actually usually do it the night before too and kind of say, what do I have coming up? So it's kind of helpful in letting me know like what's coming for that particular day. And so I just think there's a lot of purposes. And sometimes I think we see these visual schedules and we're like, oh, that's just for kids in special education or kids with disabilities. And what I really want you guys to start off by thinking about is that we all use schedules. So it's just going to be a varied type. And there really, really are a lot of different options. So the other thing I want to talk about is that today we are going to kind of focus specifically on how to teach kids to follow picture-based schedules. But I wanted to just kind of clarify that the teaching strategies and some of the things that we're going to talk about really are applicable for you guys that might need to teach a learner a different type of schedule. And so it doesn't always mean that the kid that you're working with needs to start out with some type of picture-based schedule. And if your student, can read and write or knows how to type or is savvy electronically, you may even use a different type of high-tech schedule or teach them something different. So it could be as simple as, writing something down on a piece of paper on a whiteboard. And we can use the teaching strategies that we're going to talk about just to teach the schedule in whatever kind of modality or system is going to work for that individual learner. So I do want you guys to think about there's not necessarily a one size fits all approach. And even though we're going to talk about picture schedules, I'm not telling you guys that this is like for sure the type of schedule you need to use for every single kid on your caseload. I would advocate, though, that some type of schedule is beneficial for every learner that you're working with or for any of your own children. There's different reasons that we can use schedules. So that's the other thing I kind of want to talk about. We can use schedules for what's happening for the whole day or for the whole month. Okay, so a little bit broader picture schedule. We can use a schedule for ourselves even within, a particular task. So, or a particular block of time. So let's say that it's going to be, some free time, or we're going to go out into the community. And that's not the whole day, but we kind of want to let our learner know what's happening when we're going to be out in the community. A big, broader schedule might say, hey, we're going to hop in the van and go out shopping. And then the smaller schedule might specifically tell the kids, where we're going to go. First, we're going to, stop at the grocery store or the market. And then we're going to go to the post office, and just kind of thinking about that kind of stuff. So we do also have a lot of flexibility and a lot of options of how and when we want to use the schedule. And you guys will have a lot of choices in doing that based on whatever might work for your learner or your child that you are working with. So I'm going to talk about teaching a picture schedule. If anyone does have the PECS manual, not required for you guys to have this, but just wanted to at least reference the picture. The schedule following is in this PECS manual in chapter 11 of this book. Okay, so take a look at chapter 11. In there, we talk about our critical communication skills, and one of those skills is following a schedule. Okay, the other thing I want to talk about is that two things. One, since we are talk about PECS a lot at Pyramid, I want to be clear in saying just because we have a picture does not mean that your student is using PECS. Okay, so a visual schedule of whatever type that you are using is not PECS. All right, so what we're talking about tonight is not PECS, and we are going to use pictures, but in this case, we're going to use pictures for a different reason. So when we're using PECS or even a speech generating device, the student is using the picture for their expressive modality. When we're using pictures on a schedule, this is more of like a listener skill. The kid's looking at the picture and it's telling them where they're supposed to transition or what they're supposed to go to. Okay, so even though we still have a picture, not PECS, and we are going to use the pictures for a variety of different reasons, and it may be a way that we teach a schedule. One of the other things that's really important before you start kind of teaching a schedule is that what we kind of think is one of the prerequisites to starting a schedule is being able to understand some picture directions. And essentially why that's important is we would kind of say these are two different skills. So there's a skill of actually teaching the student to be able to transition and use the schedule. And then there's the skill of the kid actually understanding, when they look at this particular picture, they're supposed to walk over to the craft table. Okay. Or when they look at this picture, they're supposed to head to the lunchroom. And so one of the things that we consider a prerequisite, we also talk about this in chapter 11 of the PECS manual, is that single picture direction following is something that's really good to teach as we get a student ready to follow a schedule. Okay, so just kind of realizing that if your student doesn't have that skill, you may have a schedule up, but it doesn't necessarily mean that your kid's going to independently know how to go where they're supposed to go. So when we talk about really true independence for schedule following, a kid that really independently knows the schedule not only knows how to navigate the system of the schedule, but when they see those particular things, they also understand what the pictures mean receptively, and it impacts their behavior. They see this, they head to the lunchroom. They see this, they head to the craft table. Okay, so we kind of talk about single picture direction following as a prerequisite to teaching kids to use a schedule. When we teach that, we essentially would just show a kid a picture card like this in isolation and say, go here, or get this, or whatever it might be. And then we would help the kid. By help, we mean prompt. So some type of prompt that's going to work for them. And I would help the kid kind of transition down to the lunchroom. And then I could say, yeah, okay, right, good. You made it to the lunchroom. Nice, you got it. And then eliminate out my help until the student sees this. And when I say go here, independently takes themselves down to the lunchroom or to your kitchen table if we're talking about at home. And so as we're kind of teaching that, then eventually once our student is able to follow some of these picture directions, then what we can start doing is putting them together, into something that we can use for a schedule. So you guys are able to kind of create your own schedules that would work for you. I do want to show you guys a couple of the schedules that we often use at Pyramid. And I definitely have a favorite. There's some different sizes, but I'll kind of show you guys. So this is a really big wall schedule. I've used these forever in my classroom. One of the really awesome things I like about the schedules at Pyramid is that whatever plastic manufacturer they found makes these really durable, which is really nice. So if you're dragging them out in the community or you have this on your wall, they last for a pretty long time, which is kind of nice. So even as kids, go to the next grade or school, the schedules will kind of be able to survive for a while, which was really nice. And then especially if a kid for some reason just has a hard day or sees something on the schedule that they don't like and get a little upset, maybe engage in some property destruction. This thing's pretty durable, so it kind of lasts, which is always really nice. So I just want to kind of show you guys, here's one larger version. This is kind of a wall schedule that we have. I will actually have some of the individuals from Kristen and Emily from our Canadian office are on, and so they can drop a couple of these links into the chat box if anyone's interested in checking those things out. But again, you can make your own version of this if you need to. Okay, so this is our large picture schedule. And essentially for this particular schedule, we have a top location. This is where the student would be going or what they're supposed to go do. Okay, so for example, let's say the first thing that was on the schedule was snack. They're going to check their schedule and move this up here. I'll talk about this whole sequence a little bit. And then this one also has a container where when this particular activity is finished, they can put it into that finished bin and go to the next thing on the schedule. We also have a version of this that I think we have a chance to, you guys have a chance to win tonight, a miniature schedule board kit that also comes with that. This is really nice because this kind of folds up. And this is just a small version of the really big size there. So this is definitely nice for the community if kids are working or more mobile and not necessarily like all around the house. In a classroom, it may be okay to have a big wall schedule like that. And then I just want to also show the schedule, you know, could be top to bottom. I think that's traditionally how we often teach it, but that's a lot of a ritual. You could also, you know, teach the schedule from right to left or left to right, whatever would make sense in your kind of language or community. And this is an option. This is one of my favorite things. This is like kind of a folding up. It has creases in it. And this is so nice because this is really easy to throw in your purse or kind of use. And it can be like kind of snuck away kind of easily. So there's just some different options I wanted to show you guys. But now I want to actually talk about how the heck do we teach this, or what does this skill kind of look like? So, all right. So the first thing you'd want to think about, okay, whether you guys are at home or school, is kind of like, okay, what are the things that are going to be happening for the day? Okay, so I'm just going to kind of put a couple things on here. And then we will put those things on the schedule. You may set the schedule for part of the day. You may set it for, you know, for the whole day. I'm just putting some random kind of cards on here. A couple other things I really like that we often teach on our schedules too are surprise. Okay, so I'm not going to go into that tonight, but something that's really good for your kids that have a hard time with schedule changes and stuff like that. And then also having these cards that you can, you know, offer some different choices. So let your kids know that they have a choice and maybe give them some of the choices are really nice. Or let's say your kid is like really obsessed with, you know, the marker, and they keep asking you, when can I have markers? When can I have markers? When can I have markers? You could put something on your schedule like this and then put the markers right next to it and kind of let them know that's when that particular item is coming. Okay, so those are some other really nice things that are features that we sometimes teach on a schedule that you could absolutely use. Okay, so if we're going top to bottom or right to left, whatever it is, typically what we would do is the first thing we're going to think about is what is going to be the signal, or what we call the cue, for the student that they should go check their schedule. A lot of times we do say things like go check your schedule, or we give a kid a card. Ultimately, those are things that we would say are kind of a prompt. And if we're really looking for our kid to be truly independent in checking the schedule, we want to think about, you know, what would we do to our student to indicate the termination of one thing that would tell them, hey, cue them, time to go check your schedule and see what's coming next. No one comes into, you know, your bedroom at, you know, 10 o'clock at night and says, Jesse, it's time to check your schedule for the next morning. I kind of know, like, all right, my day's done. I'm going to check and see what's happening tomorrow. Or I wake up and I check my schedule and I see what's happening. No one comes and finds me when my alarm goes off and tells me check my schedule. So that's the first thing we kind of think about. So you guys are absolutely okay to use verbal prompting or say something like go check your schedule, although we tend to prefer to use other types of prompts like a gestural or a physical prompt. But we do want you to at least identify that you're just going to pick one type of prompt. Recognize that saying things like check your schedule is a prompt that we eventually want to get rid of because we want the kid to be paying attention to the cue. And I do want you guys to realize the cue may vary based on your kid's age, based on your setting. Often when I think about preschool classrooms, you know, there's like a cleanup song, and there might be a noise or a phrase that's used. In a high school, it's a bell, and the bell tells kids to transition to the next thing. In adult life, it's really just that one thing is terminated. We say, okay, it's done, goodbye. Thanks for coming to this meeting, whatever it is. And that indicates that we need to check our schedule to see what's coming next. So, okay to teach to a variety of cues. Think about what's appropriate for your particular student and their particular age. Okay, so then we would make that happen. the bell goes off. I tell everyone, thank you for attending this group. It's awesome. We're all finished. And then we would select our prompt type. Okay. And that's our help. All right. So again, you have a variety of different options of help that we could use. That's how we're going to kind of be teaching. And my preference is to either use a gestural prompt or a physical prompt, just so I don't get in the habit of saying, go check your schedule, because sometimes it's really hard to get rid of. I always kind of joke around and say, no one's going to come arrest you for saying, go check your schedule all the time. But we do want you to realize that if you're saying something like that, eventually you do want to get rid of it. So just have a plan to do that. So when I say, okay, we're done, I would kind of, whatever type of prompt or help that I'm giving, all right, I would use that to help the kid get over to their schedule, wherever that might be. Okay, so if I'm giving a physical prompt, and let's say it's hanging on the wall, I would say, okay, our group is finished. Thanks for coming. And then I would say nothing else. And I would physically, nicely, gently, or gesturally guide my kid over to the schedule and help them take this particular picture. Okay, in this particular type of schedule that we would actually have the kids move this particular picture up here. And then this is why that skill of single picture direction following is nice, because they should be able to look at this and then take themselves, out the door to speech or wherever they need to go for that particular activity. When speech is done, we would have our kids come back into the room. They would take this particular picture off. They would drop it in to the bottom here and then look up for the next thing, move that guy up, transition to that particular area, participate in that activity. Okay, so that's kind of how we would teach this particular schedule. And essentially, we would just try to be really clean about picking one type of help that we're going to put in. Try not to do a whole lot of excessive talking and teach our student to navigate this particular schedule, and then eliminate out our help until our student is doing that independently. And we definitely always want to make sure those new skills that we're teaching pay off. So as you eliminate your help out, if you see for the first time your kid finished up snack, throws their trash in the trash can, and heads over to their schedule, takes this off and starts throwing it in the trash can, I may celebrate a little bit or give them a lot of praise. Or, I may even give them a Skittle or a little bit of time with their Slinky, not because they asked for it, not because their schedule said that, but just because I want to make sure I pay that new skill, which is I love that you're initiating independently and going over to check your schedule, see what's next, and starting to use that system that we've been teaching you to use. So there's just kind of a couple tips and just one particular way to teach a schedule. Again, this is just one option. If your kids read or write, you may do something different. But essentially, if it's cross off the word, erase the word, move a piece of Velcro that has a word on it and put that somewhere else, we would just want you to teach whatever system that you're teaching. Remember that teaching a schedule is what we call a sequential lesson. That's because it has a series of steps to it. Essentially, successfully navigating a schedule has a series of steps. And so we want to think about that when we're teaching. So if you're not going to kind of do what I just talked about, make sure you think about what are those series of steps for the type of schedule I want to teach, and then have a plan to pick that one type of help, put it in, eliminate it back out till we start seeing that independence of one activity terminates, kids heads over to their schedule to check the next thing. So that's kind of just a little bit of an introduction to using a visual schedule. I think I love welcome. I'm not sure if I said it right. Satoko. And I really do recommend that you guys try some different schedules with your student. You could try it for one small activity, or you could try it for, all or part of a particular day. But just remember that we can't just throw it up on the wall and expect our kids to know how to use it. We need to teach people how to use it. And so we definitely want to think about that. Our company just started using Microsoft Teams, and they didn't just plop it in front of us. Our tech guys created a little training for us and came on and taught us how to use it. So I think sometimes we think about just putting something up or exposing kids to it will be magical, but I can promise that just putting up a schedule on the wall with a bunch of pictures on it, your kid is unlikely for free to just go kind of learn how to use that. We have to spend some time teaching it, just like we teach math or something else. So hopefully that was helpful in giving you guys a couple things to think about in regards to following schedules. A few things I want to highlight. The Canadian office has a discount code for you guys, which is super awesome. And it is going to be good until Friday night. So this Friday, February 19th at midnight Eastern time. And the discount code is capital on time 2021. Okay, so capital on time 2021. I'm not sure if Kristen, you could pop that into the comment box. That would be great. Again, so this code is a 20% off code for the schedules that we kind of talked about as a nice little bonus in case you're looking for something like that. And again, it's good till Friday night, the 19th at 12 p.m. Eastern time. Also, we have a chance for a giveaway. So there's not too many of you guys on here, so you have a really good chance of winning. The Canadian office is going to give away a compact travel schedule. And so if you're interested in trying to win a free schedule, if you email canada@pex.com, okay, so canada@pex.com, and all you need to email, you can just put schedule in the subject, and we just want to hear, what is one thing you learned today or one way that you plan to implement a schedule with your particular student, okay? And so that competition is going to be open until tonight at midnight, all right? So midnight Eastern time, so you have a couple hours to do that. But if you want a chance to win a free compact travel schedule, email canada@pex.com by midnight tonight, and just put in the little subject line, what you learned or how you're going to implement a schedule with one of your students, and you can have a chance to win a schedule. Also, I want to let you guys know there's some fantastic training that's coming up March 1st through 4th. Dr. Andy Bondi, who's one of the founders of Pyramid Educational Consultants, is going to be running a training called How to Build Functional and Creative Learning Settings. You guys can find information on that on the website, the Canadian website, which is pexcanada.com. And if you go to the trainings tab, and also we might be able to drop a link to that in the chat box as well. So that's going to be on March 1st through 4th. It is from, it's just a shorter each day instead of 2 really long days. It's going to be from 1 to 4:30 Eastern time. So just a couple hours each day and a spread across the week, March 1st through the 4th. And again, that training is called How to Build Functional and Creative Learning Settings. That training will go into a lot of the things that we talked about today in a way more depth. So if you're like, I'm not really sure I know that much about prompting, I'm curious to learn about different types of prompts, how to put them in and eliminate them back out. What does sequential lesson mean? What's that word task analysis, or how do I write those steps? This would be a great training for you to check in on. It's going to go into a lot of thorough information on all those different types of things, which would help you teach a schedule and also help you guys teach anything else that you need to in your learning environments. So again, thank you guys so much for coming. Remember, kind of final wrap up or takeaway, schedules can help any of the learners on your caseload or any of the kids or members of your family, adults and children included. I think it's something that we all use, and it's not something that you need to plan to fade out, just something that you more so need to plan to teach to independence. There's a variety of different types of schedules that you guys can use. So we highlighted using a picture schedule today, but if your student has different skill set, you could absolutely just kind of take what we talked about and create a version on the computer, on the iPad, that's written, things like that, and do something that works for your particular student. And think about what is that cue or that thing that you want to signal to your kid, this particular activities is done, I need to transition, and that's what you're teaching towards to try to get those independence. So I hope you guys have a lot of success. Please feel free to come find us on the PEX Canada Facebook page or also on our user support page, okay, PEX User Support. We would love to hear successes, hear questions that you guys may have, and we hope that you guys get motivated to dig into teaching your learner about a schedule and, creating some more structure and independence in your environments. So thank you guys so much for coming. Emily and Kristen, thank you so much for helping out in the chat box. We appreciate you guys, and best of luck, and have a great evening.